Hello, I'm Matt from World of Ukes, and I'm here today with another edition of What's in Store, which is a Q&A with me, with questions sent in by viewers and customers here at World of Ukes. And I was just saying to myself the other day that I really must do another one of these because it's been a few months. And then lo and behold, I got a question to complete the set of 5 questions that I'm going to talk about today. And then I looked back and discovered it was 18 months since I'd done one, so I'm back by not very popular demand, but I work here on my own most of the time. I do have my friends Andy and Jerry from the band The League of Ukulele Gentlemen come in to help me when I'm busy to pack boxes and things, but by and large I spend a lot of time on my own, so these little videos are a nice way for me to speak to someone without actually just talking to myself and seeming a bit odd. So I'll get on with the first question, which is from Anthony Thomas, and he asks, do you ever get ukes that stick around even though you think they're great? That is definitely a yes to that one, Anthony. A lot of things that I do well with are things that I recommend. It's funnily enough, if people are going to ring and ask for recommendations, it stands to reason that they're going to follow those recommendations often. An example is the Kai KTI 30, which is a tenor ukulele, which I would deem in the serious beginner bracket. I really like that model. It plays really nicely and it sounds great, and I just find it in the around £100 bracket. It's about 119, but with an excellent gig bag. That's really good. I can't find anything better at the price, so I recommend it, and it does well as a result. But everything I sell here I like. I have favourites, obviously, which are those that I recommend, but it's interesting that if I even though I will recommend things I really like, sometimes those recommendations don't get followed up. And I do have a particular instrument which is probably my favourite in the shop. I don't know whether it's partly because I don't play a lot of low G, and I think it really suits low G to the point where I enjoy playing low G with it. That's the Miller Pilikua. So I'll have a quick listen to that one now, and then I'll talk about why it hasn't sold. I have no idea why, but I'll try and come up with a reason while I'm playing it. So that's the Miller Pilikua, which is a jumbo body tenor ukulele made from all solid Hawaiian mango, made by the small family company Miller in Taiwan. And it's very difficult on a video to tell you how it feels, but it feels so nice to play. I love the sound, it's so rich and smooth. But yeah, these haven't gone as well as I expected. I did get a few at the beginning, but I still have this one left. And I wonder whether the rope binding, which isn't for everyone, I thought that might be an issue, but I also have one with the same materials, apart from it doesn't have this binding and has some abalone instead. So that one's available, so that one hasn't sold either, so it can't be that. It's expensive. It's £1,199, which is something, you know, that's not going to be for everyone, but I've sold other things which have been that price or more quite regularly over the months I've had this one. So maybe that might be a reason. Maybe people aren't as familiar with Miller. But when I think about this one, this was bought when the pound was high against the dollar. Subsequently, the pound has fallen, and there's been Miller shipments which have come in where they've had sort of a 20% price increase purely down to the exchange rate. So I haven't put my price up to make more money. Miller haven't put their price up to make more money, but the pound being weak meant that the prices had to push up. So this one, although it's a lot of money, if it had been bought by me 6 weeks ago or 2 months ago, it would have been more expensive. So, and you know, when you compare it and its quality to things made in Hawaii, for example, fantastic instruments though they are a little bit more expensive because of the labour costs. So that's one. Anthony, yes, I do have Ukes that stick around, even though I think they're great, and this is one of them. The second question that I'm looking at today is from Rebecca Ellis, and she asks, what makes you decide which brands to stock? There's quite a few reasons for this. One, I've got to be able to get hold of them. So there's often you'll get people asking, you know, can you get X, Y, or Z? But they're very difficult to get hold of in the UK. So either there's a distributor in the UK, so I can call them or email them and get them quite quickly, or I've established a good working relationship, which means I can trust that company to send lots of dollars out to wherever the factory is and definitely get something in return. So I've got to be able to get it. Another thing is, I was going to say reliability, but I don't know if that is the right, well, yeah, consistency and reliability. So this is consistency. It's very annoying when you make a lot of effort to advertise ukuleles, you describe them, you take photographs of them, you maybe make a demo video, and then you get the second one after the first one's sold, and bits have changed, it's got different materials, so that does put me off if a company tends to change their spec very often, because it could be something quite small, like, you know, this one has a second strap button. Well, if I write that it's got a second strap button on and then I advertise it as that, I might not notice, but potentially if I sold the next one 10 months down the line that it didn't have a second strap button on. So I like things to be consistent. When I say about reliability, I'm not sure that's the right term. It's basically how much work I have to do to get them to play nicely. And this is particularly down towards the sort of serious beginner end of the market. And this is a really good example. This is a VTab EL55D, which is just under £80, and they can sound very nice. But they used to come with thick strings. I don't know if they were Dario Niletech or they were Aquila strings, but that made them difficult to get the action low or low enough that I would like to play it as a beginner without rattling. And even now they come with fluorocarbon strings, which is a big bonus. Now these, every one you get, I take the saddle off and there's a shim under there which I get rid of, and then it buzzes, but then I can angle the nut grooves, change the break angle to remove that buzz, and I end up with a nice instrument with no buzzing and a nice action for a beginner. Now I've done that enough times that to set that up, obviously I check other things as well, but to do that work is very quick because I know exactly what to do with this model. So you had this instrument caused me the problems it used to do with the old strings on. I was thinking that, I can't carry on with this because each one's taking me 20 minutes or longer than it should, and £80, you can understand that when I've sent that off there's not a great deal left. So I need to be able to get that instrument ready in a reasonable amount of time, which involves, as it should, some input from the people who make it in getting it to a position where I can do that fairly rapidly. And the other thing is value. I'm more interested in value almost than than quality in terms of how good it sounds. Obviously, I've got some lovely ukuleles here, some that are £1,000, £2,000 plus, and yeah, I'm interested in how nice they can be. That those quality top end ukes obviously do appeal to me, but I'm more excited about something that's £150 and sounds like it's £300 worth of instrument than I am something that's £1,000 and sounds like it should be £1,000. So I'm very interested in value, so I tend to look at brands which offer me that. Things like Miller, which we looked at earlier, they make instruments which I think, were they made elsewhere or it was a bigger name, they'd be more expensive. Things like Kai, which I've also mentioned, they just hit that sweet spot. They sound better than other things at their price range. So they're other things that I look for when deciding which brands to stock. Quality control is the final point I'll make. I get really aggravated when things aren't good enough. I'm here on my own, as I've mentioned. I don't have a returns department, so if something's got to go back, that's me having to monitor for getting a credit note, me having to pack it up and send it back. I can't afford to do that. So the brands that I tend to recommend most are the most reliable, and there's very few brands I deal with where I regularly have issues. There are one or two, but they tend to be things that people desperately want, and if I don't have them, then I'll get them elsewhere. And if I get them, I filter out any bad ones, sort out any issues, then people get a nice instrument. But it's a bit of a vicious circle, because then people recommend them to their friends and then I have to buy more. And there's certain brands where I look at an order and think, brilliant, I've sold a Miller, and I can just pick it up and check things, and they've done so much of the work that there's very little bit for me to do. There are other brands where I look at it and think, oh, here we go, I've sold an X, what am I going to have to do to get it right? Now, for a customer, doesn't matter, because I won't send it if it isn't right, but when I'm thinking about what to stock, I have to think, am I going to have problems? So that's another reason. So that's Rebecca's question covered. On to the next question then, which is from Klaus Fischer, and that question is, what is your favourite ukulele chord? I'm going to give you two, and bizarrely they're two that perhaps I came across early in my ukulele journey when I was struggling with B flat, and I would go along to a friend's ukulele group when I was, this is 10, 12 years ago, something like that, and I'd be joining in, strumming along, and the B flat would come up, and one of the things I would do would be, instead of doing it the proper way, I would take off my finger on the G string and play a G minor 7. But pretty soon I worked out that it's got a nice character of its own. And in a very similar way, B flat major 7, which is a B flat, but instead of leaving the G string open as I did with the G minor 7, that this is the A strings open. And I just like those sort of suggestive seventh chords. They sort of lead you to, create a little bit of tension, but not enough for it to be jarring. So those two together. They actually work very nicely too. A lot of the things that I like in chords tend to not be traditional chords. They're traditional chords where I've added a finger or taken a finger away, and you end up with some interesting things. And I don't worry too much about what chord I'm playing, because I tend to play for myself or with the band I'm in, where we write our own music, so you can be a bit flexible and just making a shape, moving it around. If it sounds bad, don't play it again. If it sounds good, then you might want to use it in a song or something that you're playing. So those are my favourite chords at the moment. Probably change next week, but that's what they are now. The penultimate question is from Brian McDonald. He did ask me a question, not specifically for this video, but I asked if I could feature it. Brian McDonald says, are you no longer stocking the aNueNue aMM2 or aMM3? These are the concert and tenor, all solid African mahogany concert and tenor ukulele from aNueNue. When I first started my business, a lot of my initial investment, which I borrowed from my mum, thank you mum, went into aNueNue, and I was desperate for them to be good. I've mentioned it quite a few times in various videos that a lot of the things I got were the first Moonbirds to come into Europe, and they were fantastic. But also in that same package, I've got the aMM2 and aMM3 Ukes, and I've done very well with them since, and I really like those instruments. They're all sort of mahogany. They have a warm edge to them, but they still have that sort of aNueNue DNA of good sustain and volume, and they ring out, they're clear. So they were a real favourite of mine for many years, and I haven't got any at the moment, although they are available in the UK, and it's just down to the pricing. I don't think aNueNue are making any more money, but aNueNue have arranged a distribution deal with a company in the UK, so that has pushed the price of them up. It has made them more easily available, but and obviously when they've been looking at the prices, they've looked at top end things like the Moonbird, which was sort of $1,299 in the UK previously, and going forward they'll be $1,399, which is, it's £100. That's not nothing, but in the grand scheme of things, as a percentage, they've tried to keep that keen, I think. But the sort of biggest increases came in the mid-range. So your aMM3, which was previously 529, that's been pushed up into the high 600s, and I think it's worth that. But I always used to think it was worth that. But when it was 529 and I thought it was worth 679, it was something that I could get more enthusiastic about. Going back to the previous question about what makes me decide to stock brands, I thought they sounded better than they cost, but now they sound the same as they cost, if that makes sense. So a little bit of the value has been stripped out. Not that they're not worth it, just they're not as much of a bargain as I thought they were before. So there's a little part of me as well which balks at paying quite a bit extra for something I've had previously, and it's a big jump in one go. So I'll have them again. I'm just licking my wounds at the price increase. So I'll have those back again, but just when I've got over the shock. The last question is from Louise Palmer, who asks, what ukulele strings do you use on your own ukulele? I was going to say predominantly, but I'm pretty much exclusively a high G player. I appreciate low G. I liked having a go on that Miller, for example, but for my own purposes I play high G, so I can get a high G set, don't have to worry about which brand of low G I use, because I don't tend to use one. But if I did, I would probably use the Fremont that's on the Miller. I also, I used to do my own strings, not me personally, and weave them here in my office. But Worth made some strings, World of Ukes Clarity they were called. And they had, surprisingly enough, quite a lot of clarity, which for someone who plays picks a lot and plays twiddly bits, I like to call it, I liked that clarity that they offered. What Worth did was send me a load of different samples of materials they didn't yet currently sell in one of their other sets, and I strung the same ukulele up over and over again and recorded it and listened back to it and decided which ones I liked the most. Coming back to the recommendations, I wanted a string that was my favourite and that I used, so that when people ask me, well, what strings do you use? What do you like? I could say, I've got these World of Ukes Clarity. They're the best I've tried, which they were. But then I got these aNueNue clear water strings, which are clear fluorocarbon, and I put some of those on just as a bit of an experiment the next time I needed to change strings. And I thought, yeah, they're still clear, but they're not, the tension's not quite as high, so they felt a little bit more comfortable. And I ended up deciding that the aNueNue clear waters were my new favourites. Now, with the World of Ukes Clarity, I know people did like them, but I felt a bit problematic in continuing a line of strings which basically the marketing was they're my favourites when I had a new favourite. So I've stopped doing the Clarity strings, but I do like the aNueNue clear water. I play a tenor, and I think they work particularly well with a tenor. They do a set for concert and soprano, but actually I prefer the black water strings on sopranos and concerts. But for me, as a tenor player, aNueNue clear water. So thank you very much for watching. I've enjoyed running through those questions. Before making this video today, I probably spent about 6 hours where I've only spoken to the occasional delivery driver handing me a box. So it's been nice to run through the questions in a bit of detail and feel like I'm not going crazy on my own here in the office. So thanks for sending them in. If you've got a question, ukulele related, please do send it in. You could ask it in the comments below, or go to worldofukes.co.uk and fill in the contact form, which comes through to me. I'll answer those on a future video. I won't leave it 18 months this next time, so please do get in touch and give me something to talk about. Thank you.
worldofukes.co.uk worldofukes.co.uk